Hi there, this is Jodie Jackson along with Kelly Jackson. You might know her from Kelly F. Jackson Counseling LLC here in Columbia, Missouri. And we are joined today by our daughter, Natasha Myrick. Natasha is in Atlanta, Georgia. And there's been some discussion today this morning on the Therapist Collective on Facebook that Kelly was monitoring. There was a lot of discussion about how to get started doing teletherapy with kids. I know that just getting the insurance companies on board with that and who takes that's a whole other topic. But there were some practical questions about how to keep kids engaged, how to do this. So our brief video here this morning or today is teletherapy, keeping kids engaged. We've got Kelly and Natasha. And okay. So Kelly is a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm Jodie. I'm her husband. Here in Corona year 2020, we're actually soon going to be celebrating our 38th anniversary. And I'm your moderator today. Natasha is with us. She is an online ESL instructor. Natasha teaches English to Chinese kids via VIP Kid. And she's been doing that for a while now and does that full time. So Kelly, why don't you take it from here and talk about how this got started?
Okay, well, I had just seen some questions about how to keep kids engaged when you're doing online teletherapy. And I got to thinking, well, there's a lot of information about how to do that, but I couldn't really find anything great online, only just other people that are doing online teaching. Our daughter, as Jodie mentioned, is an ESL instructor. She teaches children in China English. And so I knew some things just from talking to her about how to get kids engaged. As I was thinking more, I thought, we need to make sure we kind of have this outline. So first, before you even get started, we've talked online and everybody knows we have to have an informed consent before we even start with this. And we have to choose a HIPAA compliant platform. Those that I'm seeing that are most commonly used, Doxy.me, VC, and Zoom. And those seem to be the ones I'm hearing the most about. We have to start out talking to the parent, the caregiver, agreeing with them on several different things before we get started, that the kid can have their own space. You want to have space where they can feel comfortable, but yet not as many distractions as they might have in their bedroom per se. Because if they're in their bedroom, they're probably going to want to show you everything they have. And so finding a quiet, comfortable place for them. You want the parent to be available. If the child wants them to be in the room and that's okay with you, that's fine. But I think that to continue as you were in office is important. So if you are meeting with them alone in your office, you want to continue that online as well. So also I got to thinking we want to keep them engaged. We want to use stickers, rewards. Quick rewards are important, as you know. So discussing with the parent what some of those might be. They may have some stickers, different little rewards that they keep for their kids that you can have them use. And I use Skittles in my office to do some mindfulness, and I'll bring that up later as a reward at the end even that you could do with your kids. So looking at what resources they have, talking to the parent about what they have available there, what board games, card games are available. You can even have them move the pieces for you, but you're still engaging with them, building that rapport, keeping them involved so that they can still talk and you talk just as you do in your office. Coloring books, colors, drawing paper and supplies, and even books to read. Especially right now, some kids are a little anxious if they're hearing about all this, which I'm sure they are. Reading to them some different books about their feelings and expressing those feelings. And does the parent have pinwheels, balloons, anything like that to help the kids as you're getting them to practice some of their breathing, their controlled breathing techniques? You want to be able to have some different tools that they could use, because they love to use things like that anyway.
And Kelly, can you briefly describe that controlled breathing technique that you use?
Well, most of the therapists do a count of 4. Bring your breath in on the count of 4 and then blowing it out. And then you can blow into the pinwheel. And the balloons, I use a lot for breathing, because you can breathe in and then blow the air into the balloon. But also I use it when kids are angry to help them blow their angry air, their anger into the balloon. And then we just let it go in the room. And I'm sure they would have fun doing that wherever they are.
Okay, so if we're talking about what is going to be in the child's home or the parent's home, what they need to have on their end, you need to prep for your own office, your virtual office. So this is something that Natasha is really expert at. She's been doing this for quite a while. So Natasha, tell us all your secrets, your tips and tricks.
Yeah, so I think having a background that pulls the kids' attention in is ultimately really important. Like, you don't just want a bare background. And like, even though the kids are, used to your office, I think that it is best to amp it up a little bit, just because everything on screen is diminished quite a bit. So I think, maybe have some color. This is just my background because I teach, so yours will probably look a little bit different. But you can also do virtual backgrounds, like on Zoom, for example, you can do virtual backgrounds. So if you wanted a picture of the Inside Out characters or some lions or something, you could put that as your background if you had a green screen. Another really important thing to consider is your lighting. Maybe in your office, you're used to using maybe more dim lighting to keep it a little more calm, but online, that dim lighting is going to be even darker and won't hold the kids' attention for very long. So having adequate lighting is going to be very valuable. For example, I have all of my lights on right now. I have my overhead light on, and then I have a lamp right in front of me with natural light bulbs. So if I turn even just one of those off, it gets really, really dim. And if I turn both of them off, it's pretty dark. And I'm not as in the computer. I don't look as engaged. I don't look there as much as if I do right now. Also, you can use all this space. You don't just have to stay right here. You can get close to the screen. You can move back from the screen. And like my mom, Kelly, mentioned, she was talking about, how kids will want to show you everything. I do think that's important, that they do show you some of their things. So maybe recommend to the parent ahead of time, let them bring 1 or 2 of their favorite stuffed animals with them. That way you can communicate with the stuffed animals even. You can high five with them. You can talk with them. Another, just really there's a lot of controversy about this, even in the ESL world, but makeup. I really think that makeup makes you stand out a lot on camera. Like right now, maybe you can't really tell a difference, but I have some lipstick, and I'll show you just how big of a difference it is when you put some lipstick on. Yeah.
Pop.
You pop out even more. So that took me 2 seconds to do. It's just the little things that you can do here and there to make your space pop out just a little bit more, so that you don't look washed out because maybe your lighting's kind of weird. But those are just some really quick things. And then I think you were wanting to know about rewards too.
Yes.
Okay.
Do that.
So if you are really tech savvy, you can use Google Slides, you can use OBS. Those are virtual things you can use on your computer. And if you're interested in that, I know there's a lot of really great tutorials like on YouTube and other sources But something I've done a lot is I've gone to teachers teaching teachers, right?
Teachers, is it
Teachers.
teachers? Teachers pay teachers.
Teachers pay teachers. Teachers pay teachers. Teachers pay teachers, and there are so many free resources on there. So if you want to look up something about feelings or whatever it might be, but let's say you want to do a reward for these kids. One that the girls really liked, and I have one that the guys. The most favorite ones. I got these off of Teachers Pay Teachers for free. So I have this just little tiny magnetic board, and I cut out this little castle and I put it on the magnetic board. I got these magnets from Dollar Tree or Walmart. It's just the roll of magnets. Put that on the board, and then you can add your little princesses. There's Ariel with a little magnet on the back. There you go. And then there's a bunch of other princesses too.
So you use that, Natasha, like when they do something you've asked them to do, they get to add something to their picture.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so like if I've asked them to repeat something or I've asked them to complete an activity and they do it, even just to the best of their ability, even if it's not totally correct, I'll give them a reward. But they also, another thing I've seen teachers do, and we do this in VIP Kid, I don't know how you could do it virtually here, but if you have Google Slides, you probably could. They get a star when they do a really good job. So you could even have like a secondary reward that's like some stars or something like that, or 6 stars on your face, or.
And that's a virtual star that you give them?
Well, that's just what we do in the online classroom in VIP Kid. I don't know how you could do it in this context unless you are well versed in Google Slides or Minicam or something like that. But if you're just doing it just like this with no extra technology, which is what I do, I don't use extra technology. You could even like have your little stuffed animal holding something like stars or something so that they can get to interact, like the stuffed animal can give you a star, or but utilize like all of your space. You don't have to stay in one place. So like I think a lot of the engaging issues come when you think you have to just sit there and like just stay in one spot. You can move your hands, you can move all of this, you can get really close to the screen, you can move your stuffed animal to and from the screen. So if they have that movement and it's something to watch and not just you sitting there, that helps a lot.
Great.
High fives go a long way too.
High five. High five. Well, Kelly, why don't you have some more tips you can give?
Yes, I use puppets a lot. Let me grab a couple. One of the puppets, it's not really a puppet. It's more like you can put it on your head. I found this in the store. Oh, I like yours, Natasha, the dog. But this is an anteater. And if you're a therapist, you know automatic negative thoughts. So when you're doing CBT, talking about thoughts, and the end of the nose actually, hold on, catches the ant. And so that's a way to keep them engaged. I also have finger puppets. Lots of different little finger puppet people. Whiteboards, coloring, different games. And you can have them you can find different games that they can move the token. And making sure that you involve emotions a lot. So I have different emotion cards that you can use. There's the feeling face cards, just holding up.
Yeah.
I also have a real fun one that I like to use for younger kids, where you pick the, is it upside down? No, here we go. Where you pick the eyes that would be a different feeling, And then you put it on the little mirror, which might be interesting when you're doing it online. And then you can draw, the markers come with this, and then you can put different ones on there also and say, well, how do you think this one feels right now? Or tell me how you're feeling.
And let me guess, this isn't much really any different than what you would do in your actual physical office. So this would give the child some sense of continuity, like, oh, this is Miss Kelly.
Yeah, they're used to these things already. So if you can still use them online, that's even better.
And I've got to say, I love it that apparently some of Kelly's kids call her Dr. Kelly.
Not a doctor.
Yeah, I'm not either. Okay, we want to talk about cards, posters. We've already talked about that.
Yeah, just different. If you have, for your background, some of us might have different posters in our office that have feeling faces on them. You can put that up there if you don't have if you're not tech savvy and can do the things Natasha was describing. So that can be really helpful, or even colorful poster board where you can draw on it, whiteboards where you're drawing their faces, or you're asking them what you want. Tell me what you want me to draw today. You know, how are you feeling? Talking about a story, and you take turns, you know, drawing on paper and pencil, and you're sharing it online. And then also, if it's appropriate, some kids it would be, some it wouldn't. It depends on age, depends on the parents and the situation. But there are some different phone apps that you could use while you're online. There's one actually called Pinwheel, and I use it a lot in session. When you blow the screen, the pinwheel actually starts turning. It's the coolest thing. Kids love it. So you can use that if that works for you. And making sure throughout all of this that you're bringing mindfulness into it, because it just being different is going to be a little anxiety provoking for some of our kids. But then just going through not being able to come to your office, all of the things that can create some anxiety. So making sure they're super comfortable, and, you know, doing some grounding exercises and some mindfulness using Skittles. And I don't know if you all probably do, but with Skittles, what I do is I have them pick out one. They can't look at it, put it on their tongue, and this will be easy because they can just show it to you. They don't know the color they put in, and then they just have to let it sit there on their tongue and try to see if they can guess the color or the flavor, and you already know what the color is. So when they do that and they're doing that, it helps them to just focus on that one thing at a time, and it helps them to calm down, and they love candy. So that can be the reward as well.
Well, and this next slide is, uh-oh, my kiddo is distracted. And Kelly, Dr. Kelly might have just, Miss Kelly might have just given an example of that, you know, the Skittle on the tongue. Natasha, I know you've run into this many, many times. You've had some pretty interesting experiences with kids being distracted and maybe doing things during class that you wouldn't normally do during class. What are some of your pointers?
Yes, especially lately, the kids in China have been quarantined up in their houses for a couple months now. So a lot of them are stir crazy. A lot of the parents are stir crazy. One thing that I like to do is to distract them. So if they are distracted, I try to get their attention by, so if it's like a younger kid or someone who maybe is, just a younger kid, I will do like a rhythm game with them. I'll start clapping and counting. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that usually gets their attention because it's something different that I had not been doing before. It's just out of the routine of class, I guess. So even if something I've even used is like, I have a little drum I got in Africa, and I'll just start like, just like little, sometimes I'll say, you know, if they're a lot younger, like, let me see your hands, wiggle your fingers, touch your head, because maybe they're stir crazy too and they need to stretch. You can stretch with them, why not? Stretch your arms, make a fish face, you know, just something to get them back engaged into you and not, you know, what's going on around them.
Yeah, I like the motion part, because this can also be a time mid-session where you can do some yoga poses with them. And, you know, I do anyway, do some different yoga poses in sessions with kids, and they can get up and move around a little bit. And so they're not just staring at the screen the whole time, and that movement can help them stay engaged as well.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about having the parent remain engaged or at least accessible during the session, because you've established that the child needs to have a safe, private, confidential place, yet the parent really needs to be on call, right?
Yes, just as if you were in your office and they're sitting out in the waiting room, the same thing, making sure that they're available by text and they're paying attention in case you need to get a hold of them. If there's some issue, the kid decides to stand upside down and tear up the room, you just want to let that parent know, because that can happen. So just being able to get in touch with them if you need to, and also letting them know when the session is over. Because they may be sitting in another room and not recognize that the session time is over.
So this is kind of the elephant in the room, I guess, or maybe the virus in the room. And I'm not making light of that, but a lot of anxiety with COVID-19, with coronavirus. And I know myself personally, a lot of anxiety, not necessarily wondering about, am I going to get sick, but how's this going to affect our daily lives? We've got the great run on toilet paper and paper towels right now, and that's a little bit maddening and frustrating. And we just don't know. People are going to react to this, and this is it's going to go on maybe for some time. So there's a lot of anxiety. This started in China. Natasha, you've been talking to kids in China about this for a few months now. What can you share with your experience?
Well, personally, in my experience, we did not even talk about the virus for a while. I found that they were overwhelmed by it, because that's what they heard on the news and saw on the news. That was their life, 24/7 was being really shut up in their homes for a long time, days on end, schools canceled, and they missed their biggest holiday of the whole year. It's a huge deal in Chinese culture, the Spring Festival, the Chinese New Year. They could not celebrate that at all. So I know that was really hard for them. And so I'm sure as a therapist, you might do something similar. I didn't personally bring it up unless they brought it up to me. I didn't talk about it with them because I found that, like I said, like it was their life now. Like it was, like even when it was new, I was like, they get this all day. They have this fear all day. If they want to talk to me about it, they can, but I found that they really wanted a break from it. And they really just wanted to, it was something in their daily lives, just like a break from school even, because school is really stressful. Just a break that they can just kind of breathe and relax. And so I tried to make it more fun and relaxing for them, instead of you have to get this done and this done. I'm a lot more laid back with them, more than I was before, just because they really need that. Just like these kids need that too. I mean, of course, it's a much different avenue here, different experiences, different culture. So these kids are definitely going to want to talk about it, but maybe they won't. Maybe they don't want to talk about the virus. So I think personally just letting them lead with that. But my experience with them has been they're talking about it a lot more. But I'll ask them, how are you? And what did you do today? And they've started saying the same thing, teacher, same thing. They're inside. They don't get to go outside very much. So they're doing online school, which I don't know in Missouri yet, but in Georgia, that's what they're doing, is online school now, starting this week. And so they might want to talk about it. And if they do, that's great. I would just let them kind of lead with that. So I don't know if that's helpful.
Very much. Yeah. So making sure during this time, I think that we use a lot of those coping strategies, refreshing our kids if we haven't already done that, to just make sure that they can practice some of those during these online sessions, and just doing some controlled breathing, like I mentioned before, some mindfulness, some grounding, and just making sure that they are using those not only during online therapy, but talking to the parents about practicing with those a little bit more.
So we're going to start to wrap up here, but really wanted to focus on, don't forget self-care. This photo we used for this slide really illustrates the importance of the child having a safe place, and that place to just relax and be themselves. And I hope that we can all kind of identify with the child in all of us, knowing that we need that peaceful space, however, whatever that means for us.
Yeah, making sure that as therapists, one of the most important things we can do as a therapist is self-care, and making sure to include that daily right now.
We are living in a historic event right now. I think Bill Gates has called this this generation's once in a century pandemic. And I know that we all hope that what's going on now is a colossal overreaction. I think that would be a great outcome of this. The reality is, though, that this is pretty serious and it's getting worse. So self-care, highly important. Don't lose your sense of humor, okay?
Yeah.
Final thoughts, you can receive emails for slides in email by contacting Kelly, kelly.jackson.15. We thank you for viewing. Please comment on YouTube or drop Kelly an email, and there is also Natasha's email information, natasha.ren@gmail.com. Please reach out to them, stay in touch with each other. And that's all for now. Any final thoughts, Kelly?
Stay healthy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's still recording.